Alpine here has a bad case of separation anxiety. We're not playing shake, buddy. I appreciate that. How about a high five? Can you give me a high five? There we go. That's kind of a high five. So what I find for separation anxiety, a lot of dogs go from like 0 to, or from 100% access to the humans to 0 access to the human, and that is such a huge disparity. It freaks them out. They don't know how to process it. So one of the things I like to do when I have a dog that has separation anxiety is teach them to stay, which is what we're going to go over in this video. This gives us the application, once we've mastered it, to help the dog practice staying alone, but not abandoned from the house. So maybe you put him in a stay and you go to the bathroom, and you come back and release him. You go to the stay, and then you go get a drink of water, come back and release him. Eventually he gets to the point, the idea is each time he knows you're in the house, you haven't left here. And so he doesn't panic because he knows that he's not alone, but he can't see you. So he's practicing being solitary, especially in his case, because he's almost like touching the humans or somebody at all times. So we want to basically teach him to stay so we can put him in a stay and eventually go in our bedroom. First we're away for a minute, then for 2 minutes, then for 3 minutes, then for 5 minutes. And if you go from 5 minutes to 10 minutes, he starts freaking out at 7 minutes. Then we go back and practice at 6 minutes. So we always want to take a step or two back so the dog can practice and build up that ability. Now for dogs, once you reach a 2-hour throshhold, they're good after that. You don't have to practice past 2 hours. Sometimes you don't have to go all the way to 2 hours. Sometimes you have to go quite a bit more. Well, never more, but sometimes it's a lot less. So every dog is unique, just like humans. All right, now in this video, like I said, what I'm going to do is go over how you can teach your dog to stay or train your dog to stay. Now, I have a handful of treats in my left hand. I'm a right-handed person. When I do the stay, you want to treat the dog or train the dog for the 3 Ds. First for duration, then for distance, then for distraction. What's his word for down?
Down.
Is it down? Okay. So is it one that you don't use a lot?
No.
You might want to consider coming up with, like I mentioned off camera, a fun command word: crash, chill. Mm-hmm. I had one guy that's a baseball fan. He calls his dog slide, which is, again, people laugh when they hear those things. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to work on just duration. Now count in your head when you're doing these. At first I'm going to do like 3 seconds, then I'm going to try to do 6 seconds and 9 seconds. So I'm going to do 3 of them in a row. Now we also need to give the dog a word that means we're done staying. So I use break or release. I always recommend never using the word okay because it is a top 50 word and people will say it casually and it confuses the dog. Do you have any preference? Stay or release or freedom? I had one guy that said parole. I'm like, let's keep it positive. He's like, you've been in jail. Parole's a very positive word.
Hooray.
Oh, what?
Hooray.
Hooray?
Yeah.
Okay. Come here, buddy. Your mom came up with a new one. Sit. All right, so I want to be engaged with the dog, so I'm down at his level. Now, my preference is if I put the dog in a sit, I want him to stay in a sit. If I put him in a down, keep him in a down throughout the stay. Sometimes I prefer the down, so if you notice he keeps on going there, then just don't work against it. Work with whatever works. I have my hand that I'm going to deliver the treats is my left hand. I'm going to keep it down here. I'm going to give him a stop sign with my right hand. Stay. 1, 2, 3. Stay. I normally don't count out loud. I'm just doing it for this purpose. Now I keep my hand here. A lot of people do it here. They say stay and then move their hand down and see how he got distracted. So keep your hand down to begin with. If your dog is really focused on your hand, you might want to move it behind you. Stay. Stay. Now he doesn't have to look at me the whole time because eventually we're going to go beyond his line of sight. So he just can't move out of the stay position, but he can move his head and look around. We don't discourage that at all. Now if he starts to move, because it's really hard for dogs, why are you not giving me the treat? What am I not doing? Do you want me to shake or do something else? They start moving. So if that's the case, come here, buddy. You want to do what I call a flash lure. So this one I'm going to try to go so long that he wants to get out of the stay, and I'll show you a flash lure. It's going to be a small movement to make him stay. Stay. It's okay, buddy. Stay. So we might want to just practice with him in a down position. But usually a flash lure is just like something like this or like this, just a real quick movement. And don't wait for him to go all the way down to a down. As soon as he starts to move, that's when you want to do it. However, if the dog moves and then you give him a treat, let's say that he starts moving right at your epiphany of whatever you're going to, or the highest point of whatever you're counting to, he thinks, oh, it's the moving of the paw that's what got it. So that's what I should do each time. So if you have to flash lure him and you're at the count, once you get him back in position, wait a count of 2 before you give him the treat. I forgot what's your release word again?
Hooray. Hooray.
Hooray. Okay, let's try that again. We're gonna do a couple here. Sit. Sit. I always like to pay for the first one. So I have 3 treats here, and I'm gonna save the last one for the hooray. So let's do it like this, buddy. Stay. I didn't say fart. Stay. That was 5 seconds. Let's see if we can go to 10. Stay. Sit. Come here. Sit. All right, you want to do a down? All right, we can do that. Are we still in the shot?
Yep.
All right. Stay. Stay. So the idea is we want to go very gradually and very progressively. If he starts to get up and move away at like 10 seconds, then go back to practicing at 9. My puppy Quest, for the first 2 weeks, I had to practice 1 second stays over and over for 2 weeks. Very exasperating, but eventually he got it. Now, when I'm done, after all the practices, then I'm going to give him the command word that means that we're done with the exercise. The way I associate this is a little bit through the passive training I talked about off camera. So I'm going to show him the treat. Hooray. So I'm going to throw the treat when he goes and licks it. Right after he licks it, then I'm going to say the command word. Anytime you're giving your dog a command, or a treat for a command, make sure you say the command word after the treat goes in the dog's mouth. Come. Come. So the stay, when I do the duration, you want to, normally when you're doing dog training, you don't want to go past 3 minutes. They start getting fatigued. This is one of those rare cases we are going to go past it. I want you to keep practicing him with the stay until you can have him for no distance. We're just working on duration for him to stay in the stay position for 5 minutes right in front of you. Now, the first time you do it, you might do 3, 6, 9, 12, 16, 19, and then he starts kind of getting antsy. Always end on a good one. So the next time you have a good one, toss the treat, say, hooray, good one, and then you're done with that practice. Now, dogs categorize what they learn after they sleep, so make sure that after you practice this, you wait for him to take a little bit of a nap and then practice it again. The key for this one is to practice at least 5 times a day, every day. Now, there are 2 of you, so I'd like to see each one of you practicing maybe 4 or 5 times a day each, and he'll start accelerating, getting it faster and faster. Now, first, you're only going to go up to 15 seconds. It's helpful to have like a dry erase board or somewhere where you kind of are chronicling all this. Come here, buddy, so we have you in the shot. There we go. And so that you can kind of see what each other are doing without having to check in with each other. If you have a family, everybody else knows where we're at. Everybody sit. So the fact that he moves away like that tells me he's got a little insecurity. I feel more comfortable sitting with a couple more paces away so I can run away. Again, for his case of separation anxiety, I think it's a lower self-esteem. So teaching tricks like this can go a long ways towards boosting self-esteem, just like our guardians here, they are computer coders, and so when they learn a new language, you feel a sense of pride when you do that because you mastered something. It took time, it was a lot of effort, and you feel a sense of accomplishment. Dogs can also do that. Crash. So example of passive training, we want to change the word to crash. So for this one, what I want you to do is practice, don't start going for duration, distance until you get up to 5 minutes, both of you. And where you can go for 5 minutes, it's super easy. I'm just right here. Next step is if I'm doing the stay, I'm going to pantomime a little bit walking this way. I'm not going to actually do it. So I might say, be in an up position now. I say stay, and again, collapse your hand back on your chest. Take 1 step away. I count to 2. Then I come back, and then I deliver the treat and say stay. So I might do that 3 times in a row or 5 times in a row where I'm only 1 step away. And I start off with this. I take 1 step back and I count to 2. I take 2 steps back and I count to 4. I'm doubling the length of time that I'm staying versus the number of steps I'm taking. But that's my arbitrary starting point. Each dog's going to be unique. Go with whatever your dog goes with. Eventually, when you get to the point where I can be like 15 feet away, and then when I get to the point where he's got this, and this is why we do 5 minutes first, so we've really established this behavior. Then when I get to the point where I'm like this far away, then I go, stay. So I only move out of his line of sight for 1 second. And then I come back, and I want to come back before he gets a chance to panic and come and look for me. Next time I do it, I might go for 2 seconds. If I go for 2 seconds, he starts getting up. Then I got to go back and practice 1 second of being away until he stays there consistently. Now you guys have a little bit of a kind of a baby monitor where you can watch the dog. So if you can watch that through your iPhone or something like that in the other room, because eventually we're going to make him practice for longer and longer periods of time outside of your eyesight. but he knows you're here. He can smell you're here. He didn't see you leave, so he's confident, and we're building up that ability to be by himself. And eventually we get to the point where you put him to stay maybe in your bedroom and come out here and watch a movie for 2 hours, go back in there and give him the release word, or hooray. So the idea is we're helping the dog practice and developing a skill set so he feels confident being alone. Now, last little tip on this this is really on teaching the dog to stay. But like I talked about earlier, it's a confidence issue. So the other thing I'd like the guardians to do is each one of them pick 4 dog tricks or commands that they're going to teach the dog. And each week on Sunday or Monday or whatever day of the week you want, the next guardian takes over and says, okay, I'm going to watch the YouTube video. All these guys want to be the dog whisperers, so careful your fingers. They will have all these videos on YouTube trying to teach people how to do these tricks. So find one where it teaches you how to do it. Now, keep in mind that there are different ways to teach tricks. So you might, one guy's technique might not work for your dog. Go back and look for somebody who's doing it a different way. There's an old joke, if you get 2 dog trainers together, I'm a behaviorist, if you get 2 dog trainers together, the only thing they'll agree on, the other guy is wrong. Their way is the right way. So find a different technique because your dog might respond to it, and that's what I do as a behaviorist, is customize things based on what the dog needs. So and it doesn't always have to be a trick. I have a really cool command for my dog named Callie. If I say Callie retreat, she goes 1, 2, 3, and then slays down. It just means back up 3 steps. That is infinitely helpful if I'm carrying something or she's in my way. I say retreat and get the dog to back away. Hugely effective. A little bonus footage. The way that I teach that is I have a hallway. Every time I'm walking towards the dog, she walks back, I just say retreat. I did that for about 3 months. Now I can say retreat when she's eating her food, and she'll take 3 steps back and sit back down. So it doesn't always have to be a trick, but I'd like you guys, if you guys can come up with for the next 2 months, and you guys are alternating. So on Monday, maybe you teach balancing a treat on the nose, and all week long you practice that treat, both of you. At the end of the week, you pick another, maybe we're bang, you're dead. So I try to have at least half of the ones that each one of you are doing, things that require the dog to have self-control, like balancing a treat on my nose, putting their paw on their nose and holding it there. Those sort of things help the dog develop a little more self-control. But the more skills that he has, the more confident he will be. Most dogs that are reactive, aggressive, or have behavior problems do it out of an insecurity. So if we can build up the dog's confidence, we're eroding that insecurity, and that can help the dog thrive in a lot of other areas. All right, this is a video on how to teach your dog to stay, as well as some bonus tips and tricks on other benefits of teaching your dog basic commands.